We just did a press conference on tree planting. Now, we've done these before, but a few years ago, I set a goal that the city should plant 500 trees a year for each of the next 5 years. And so we marked that occasion. This year, again, we're going to exceed that goal. And it was a lofty goal when we put it in place, but the idea is this, that trees are probably the simplest way to beautify a neighborhood and to revitalize a neighborhood. Trees clean the air, they slow down traffic, they collect storm water so it doesn't get into the system and cause flooding, which happens quite often in the city, and they raise property values. Neighborhoods where there are lots of trees, property values tend to be higher as a result. So as you've seen around the city over the last few years, there are trees springing up along the main streets, and we really want to continue that. This city used to have a lot of trees, and most of us are not old enough to remember when that was, but the city didn't replace them over time and didn't do a big planting, big tree initiative to replace them. We're doing that now. And so, you know, they're not going to be fully bloomed out for another 15 years or so or 20 years or so, but we're trying to do our part to build the city of the future and for our future generations, for our kids and our grandchildren, and planting trees is going to be a big part of it. So once we start to fill the city out, then over time we can just replace them, you know, the ones that are knocked down by storms or die otherwise. But we need to keep that up. But we're catching up fast, and our guys at the DPI are doing a great job making that happen.
It's Jim Marshall from the New Bedford Cable Network. We are at Hathaway Road and Apple Tree Lane as the city's Department of Public Infrastructure crews continue their efforts to plant trees throughout the city. With me right now is Zeb Arruda. He is the Commissioner of the department. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Tell us a little bit about the program right now.
Well, about 3 years ago, the mayor challenged us to plant 500 trees a year for the next 5 years. We're 3 years into the program, and we're happy to say that we're about 1,700 trees strong planted in the ground since that date.
What is the when you look at locations and what have you? Is there any particular areas that you look at? Is it just throughout the city the challenge?
We go throughout the entire city, from north to south, east to west. What we want to do right now is focus on all our main thoroughfares, all the entrances and exits of the city, the Ashley Boulevards, the Rockdale Avenues, the Hathaway Boulevards, etc., right through the entire city, the primary roads.
When you talk to people about the program, why is it important to plant the trees throughout the city?
New Bedford used to be a city that was lined with trees. If you went back 30, 40 years ago, you'd remember boulevards of trees, canopies everywhere. And over the years, for one reason or not, the trees have slowly but surely disappeared throughout the city. The residents are more than glad to see the trees come back into the streets. It creates neighborhoods. When we build streets now, for example, it's not only just bringing in the asphalt, resetting the curb, putting in brand new sidewalks, but what gives it the icing on the cake is planting the trees. And when you turn around and look at the complete street, and you look back and it's a pedestrian-friendly street, and the trees are lined there, it creates that neighborhood that's been lacking in so many areas in the city.
Now it's late fall right now as we're interviewing you right now. What's sort of the game plan that you have? I mean, obviously, you must not be able to do it too much longer for the year, but then I would assume you've got to get a game plan for next year right off the bat, too.
Right off the bat. We're actually going to finish planting the trees this week. This week we'll be at our magical 500 number. We'll be there, and we're already working on picking and purchasing trees for the springtime. They'll start rolling in come March, April, and once they come in, we'll start planting them again in the springtime.
Let me ask you this. If somebody wants a tree planted in front of their yard or has an interest, can they do that?
Yes, they can. And when Chance comes in, our city arborist who runs the program for us and does a great job for us here in the city, he's going to give you all the details, where to call, how to do it, and we'll be glad to call you back and discuss it with you.
I want to give you a chance to give you a shout out to your crews here who have been doing this all fall right now and throughout the spring. They seem to do it. They know what they're doing a great job.
Absolutely, and it starts right at the top with Chance Perks and his crew here. Truly a great group of professionals. They love what they do. They have a sense of pride, a sense of urgency when they do the job. They work with the citizens. At times there's an issue. I'd love to have the tree a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the right. And you know what? We'll work with every citizen in the city to put that tree in exactly the right location where it's going to grow healthy and flourish. So definitely a shout out to the crew here.
My name is Ray Chupani Jr. and I live in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Alrighty.
Travis Bradley. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Chris Natho, and we work for forestry.
What do you need from me, sir?
Just name.
My name is Justin Olson. Work with the city of New Bedford tree department.
Come on.
Nicholas Correa.
Any of you guys just want to step up and just say what working on this type of project means for you guys and
What it means for us?
yeah, how you feel?
Planting trees for the city is very important. It's beneficial to our environment. Very good for nature. It cleans up stormwater from runoff. Produces oxygen for us, of course. Cosmetically, it adds beauty to the city. So it's very important to us. We value what we do. We try to do a good job, step up, and just try to do the best we can. Get as many trees in the ground as possible, and rinse and repeat next year, and so on and so forth.
The one thing that impresses me for you guys is like I was just telling Chance. I mean, 30 years from now, as you're driving down the street here, you'll see the tree that you planted. That's got to be a sense of pride there.
Absolutely. For future generations too. We could tell our kids, our grandchildren, we planted those trees. They're doing great because we make sure that we do a good job when we put them in the ground. So it means a lot to us, and I hopefully the rest of the city as well. Very important to us.
Thank you guys. Good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, we're back here now at Hathaway Road and Apple Tree Lane in the north end of the city. We are with Chance Perks. Chance, the crews are doing a fantastic job here. Tell us a little bit about your role here as a horticulturist and for the city.
Yeah, so as the city's arborist, particularly in this context, what we do is, looking at the big picture, making sure that when we do our layout, so when we're trying to determine where the trees are to be planted, which as Zeb mentioned earlier, has a master plan mainly focused on main thoroughfares, I'll come in and bring my deputy arborist with me to site out each tree specifically. What's around, what are the utilities doing, what's the flow of traffic, what's the pedestrian walkways. Really try to place the trees where they're going to complement the other gray infrastructure of the city, so the decisions we make today don't bite us in the butt 30 years from now. Really right tree, right place is absolutely crucial to making this project fly. And so with that, ordering the correct type of trees, Zeb is, previous commissioners have been really, really supportive, along with the City Hall administration. They really want us to do it and do it well. Not just off the cuff, just stick stuff in the ground. They really want us to do it well. So again, as the trees mature, they really complement the existing infrastructure.
Chance, how do you pick the trees? Is it based on soil, or is it based on just parts of the city?
Yeah, well, we try to take in as many of those variables as we can to make the decisions. A lot of times, I should first say that diversity in terms of the species is really, really crucial. In the past, we've planted many of just one species. So every time I'm speaking with residents or whomever, really highlighting that the more different types of trees that you use, the more it's going to be able to withstand, fluctuating temperatures over the long haul, insect infestations, and things of that nature. Also, each tree species has their own little quirks. So if we find that, in 10 years, we're noticing that one species isn't really suited to our city, at least we didn't plant 500 of them. So we're always trying to diversify. So even today, we've already planted 3 different types of trees, and we've just begun.
For the city itself, and I know I asked Seb, people who are interested in getting trees, can they call you up and say, hey, I'd like to put a tree in front of my house?
Absolutely. We invite the residents to invest in their neighborhoods is really what it is. So for a $200 tax deductible donation to the City of New Bedford, myself, my deputy will give you a call. We'll give you a call back, and you're able to choose the species from a list that's predetermined and a general location outside your house on the city layout for us to plant a tree. It's a great way. It's a pretty simple step to really invest in your neighborhood. You can sell certain neighborhoods. We have a lot of requests and a lot of activity with the Adopt a Tree program. All you have to do is give us a call at 508-979-1550. You'll get a hold of one of our office staff. They'll then get the process rolling. So we'll be doing that now for about another month or so. We don't want to go too far into the fall season. And then, of course, right back in the spring, we start that up again. So you can give us a call anytime.
One of the things that I found interesting that we were talking about off camera was the fact that, you think that in the summertime it's the perfect time to plant, the weather's great and what have you. But as you just mentioned, it's really the spring and the fall. Why is that? Yeah,
so it's really what the trees are doing in terms of their lifestyles, in terms of their life cycles on the annual basis. So the real tough times for a tree, of course, are the dead of winter and the real heat of summer. And of those two, the real heat of summer is the real killer. So planting, early spring is absolutely ideal. The trees are just really initiating growth. The roots are growing, the tips are growing. And then here in the fall, even though the leaves are falling off the trees are still very much active, but it's all underground. So it's out of our typical, viewscape of what we're used to seeing. So we think green tree, that thing's moving. Whereas a lot of these trees that we're putting in the ground today, they're going to take the next month to really elongate their roots in the soil. As long as those soils stay above about 50 degrees. So this is a great time. It allows them to anchor in for the winter, and then come spring, they're already ready to roll.
One of the things too that we talked about off camera, that's you think that you're a homeowner warrior, just planting a tree. It's not as simple as just digging a hole and putting it in there. There is some rhyme or reason as to what the guys are doing here.
Yeah, as with anything, the more you put into it, the more you're going to take out of it. So this crew particularly has really honed their skills on the small details. Excavating what we call the root flare, where the tree really makes that contact with the ground, making sure that's the right height, making sure that the roots that are present are pointed in the right direction, making sure that the soil type matches the tree. Again, the right species for the location. Stepping back and looking at the big picture. What's this going to look like in 30 years, not just tomorrow? So it's just like with anything. The more you put into it, the more planning you do with it, of course, the more returns you'll get.
We were talking about one of the gentlemen, too, that was here that made a key catch, I guess, when you were planting a tree over there.
Absolutely, and again, it's that excavation, what we call excavating the root flare. So when the tree comes down, if it goes right into the ground and looks like a telephone pole, that tree's planted too deep, and you're going to find either you're going to get trees dying back, you're going to have uplifting issues, you're going to have root girdling, all kinds of things are going to happen in the tree. Whereas a correctly planted tree, much like when you find in nature, when the tree comes down, looks like a telephone pole, and then right before it goes on the ground, it flares out a little bit. You're seeing the top of the buttress roots. That's absolutely crucial, and as long as we pay attention to that when planting, just that little bit of pulling back the soil. When it comes from the nursery, it's dug out of the ground with a certain type of machine that kind of piles the soil around the tree. So we want to make sure we just pull that back so we can just see the top of those roots. The same goes for the mulch. So of course we're going to mulch it, and mulching is absolutely crucial for tree health for various reasons. But also with the mulch, you do not want to place mulch right up against the bark of the tree. You know, you'll see that people kind of make these volcanoes of mulch right against the tree. You know, you're looking for fungus issues, and you're in essence looking to kill the tree. So making sure you have like almost like a nice little bird's nest of mulch around the tree, making sure that that root flare stays exposed.
And that comes with the experience that these guys have garnered over the past few years as well. As you were saying, that the crew is very skilled at what they're doing.
Absolutely, and that goes all across DPI. You know, understanding the small details really is what make the difference. Being able to, no matter what trade we're in with the city, we have to make sure that we, you know, hold to the, you know, standards of the you know, job being done, but also the industry standards. You know, we're not second to the private industry. We're helping try to lead the way in, you know, modern techniques and things of that nature. And the same goes here with tree planting.
I guess the last thing that I had for you too is that really the no pun intended, the fruit of your labor really you see in 30 years or whatever when you're coming with your grandkids or what have you.
Absolutely, as that proverb says, you know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.